Hello and welcome to this episode of Cosmic Tarot. Today I'm going to be participating in the hashtag Only10 Mass Market decks that I've seen been going around YouTube lately, and even on Instagram people have been sharing it too. So here's my pick for the top 10 decks. You can see all the boxes right there, and I have them going no particular order of likes or dislikes, but more of just how they stack well, because it's like big decks versus little decks, big boxes versus little boxes, and you can see them all right there. And we'll go through each of them, and I'll share a few cards with you of what I like from every deck. Up first, I'm sharing the Deviant Moon Tarot Borderless Edition by Patrick Valencia. Now, I did say these are in no particular order, and this is the smallest box in the collection, so as I have them like stacked up beside me and I share one at a time, this one definitely was on the top, but technically this is my favorite deck of all time. It's not a secret. I know this very well. I've shared in the past. It's even on my channel. It's his favorite deck of all time or something like that. And that's definitely this deck. Now the box itself you can see is a little beat up, but that's because it goes everywhere with me. I do not leave this deck at home at all. It stays in a little bandana in my purse because this is my favorite deck. It's my favorite one to read with. It's my favorite illustrations. I love, 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 love Patrick Valencia's work. Now I could go through here and show you all the cards in the deck because I love every single one of them, but I've gone through and I've picked the 5 that I love the most, and I'll share them with you now. You have the Six of Swords, which is my favorite illustration of the Six of Swords because I love that control he has over his mind. Because a lot of times, like, the Six of Swords is the card of like leaving the stress behind to find more peace and happiness in your life, more peaceful times. And a lot of times, like, we take vacations, like external vacations, to get away from the busyness and the everyday routine. But this one really shows that control of the mind. You know, you're leaving behind the fire, the destruction, the sadness, the negativity, and you're moving on to this blank slate where you're free to start something new. So a lot of times we don't even need to take that external vacation when we can just close our eyes and find that peace within and be able to leave the stress behind. Then I've chosen the Seven of Pentacles as one of the cards to share with you for this. And I love this illustration because it literally screams you can't stab the tree to get what you want. You have to have patience and you have to wait. Now, technically, if you want maple syrup, then stabbing a tree to get what you want pretty much is the way to do it, I think. I think they put like a little like faucet on it and pour it out, but that's beside the point. With the exception of something like that, you have to have patience. You can't expect things to be rushed. You can't poke the tree and expect things to happen. You have to wait for the tree to bear its fruit. Then I've chosen Death. I really love this illustration of death because it kind of shows that whole desire to go back in time. You can see that character down here, the child wanting to go back into his mother's womb, but the mother, very clearly, you can see her pregnant belly here, is pregnant with new life. And that's the thing about death. We might want to go back in time. We might want to relive this situation, but we can't. We have to move forward. What's done is done, needs to go behind us, and we have to focus on what we want to do next. So don't look at the past, look towards the future. And I really love that illustration of death because of that. Then I've chosen the Six of Pentacles because I really love this illustration too. Is that I love all the illustrations in this deck. These are just my favorites. And what I love about this particular illustration is the fact that he holds one pentacle dangling above the beggar below, but he doesn't share any of the pentacles behind him. And I feel like that's what society really does. And like the richer the someone is, sure, they share a little bit here and there, but they don't really share all their wealth. And that's kind of like the truth of the sharing is caring card. That's what I call it, the sharing is caring card. And that kind of shows that desire to only share what we want to share. We don't actually share all that we could share, and that really kind of shows the truth of that sharing is caring and Six of Pentacles, I feel. And then, of course, we have the Nine of Cups, which is the wish card of the tarot, and I think this card really embodies that aspect of the wish. And as much as we all may wish that we had a magic genie or fairy godmother to make all of our wishes and desires come true, that is simply not possible. It doesn't exist. If it does, please let me know. I'd love to meet this person. Or rub a magic lamp and have a magic genie come out and make all my wishes come true. But for the most part, you know, that's not life, that's not reality. We are the manifestors of our own wishes and desires. We're our own magic genies and our own fairy godmothers. Nonetheless, this is an absolutely beautiful illustration of the Nine of Cups, which is why I love it so much. All of the cards in this deck are absolutely incredible. Like, they're so weird, they're so fantastical. I'll just give you a little look at all the cards. And like I said, this is my favorite deck. I've had it for probably about 5 years now. You can see there's no damage on the cards themselves. There is a little bit of damage on on the box, but that's only because it goes everywhere with me and I love it so much. Now there was a little white book that came in here, but the cards with them in the box didn't really fit, so I took it out and I don't know what I did with it. But really and truly, if this is the deck that you really like and it calls to you, then please, I highly recommend you getting that giant hardcover book that's about 3 pounds that Patrick Valencia created. This bad boy right here that doesn't even fit on the screen. You can kind of see some of the illustrations in there. My weird setup of how I do videos makes it hard for me to like get the book open, but you can see there's actual pictures in here, and it shows the upright meanings right there and the reverse meanings. But what really makes this book special is the different stories he shares about each of the cards and how he came up with it. Like, it's got his biography or autobiography, because I guess technically he wrote it, but it's got his information, like that why he created this deck and like his joys and his passions. And so I have a leaf in there, I don't know why, but I was pressing it, it worked out. But it's definitely an awesome book. I highly recommend it. I believe Amazon has it right now for $30. So if you want to add this, like if you're going to connect with this deck, then I highly recommend getting the book as well. The Deviant Moon Tarot by Patrick Valencia. It's a fantastic book and it goes so well with the deck. So it's definitely, I feel like, a necessity if you're going to connect with this deck and really get to know it more. So I didn't mention this in the beginning, but I will totally do it now. All these decks, like mass market, means that you can pretty much purchase them anywhere. Amazon, that's where a lot of my decks come from. Amazon, Walmart, Barnes & Noble, Books A Million, you name it. If they sell tarot decks, they'll most likely have these decks. So I'll leave a link in the description below where you can purchase all these decks for yourself. And we will move on to the next deck that I have on the list. Again, this is no order of how much I like this deck or how much I don't like this deck. It's simply because the boxes are certain sizes and it's easier for me to use them. Next up, I have the Crow Tarot by MJ Colonnade. And of course, as Cosmic Crow Tarot, that's who I am, I have to have the Crow Tarot. I remember when this deck first came out, I got so many messages from people saying, hey, do you know about this deck? You have to have it. So definitely one of the most beautiful illustrated decks. So many talented artists create tarot decks, and I'm so honored to have their decks in my collection. You can see here, nice little box it comes in. And it does have the book still with it because it fits so nicely in the box. You see its nice little cover and everything. It's not just a little white book. Now there is a full extended version of this little white book that MJ Colonnade wrote herself. I do not have it, but I think it gives you more information, kind of like the Deviant Moon book that I shared with you. And like the Deviant Moon, I will share the 5 cards that I like the most in this deck, and you can see if you like them yourself. So over there. First, I've chosen the Ace of Wands, because I really like this illustration because it kind of shows leaving the past behind and really going after something new, something that you're really passionate about. So you see these feathers have fallen off and this crow is ready to just embark on this new path. So it kind of shares that message of whatever lights your inner fire, don't be afraid to go after it. Leave what's ever holding you back behind and focus on what you're passionate about so you can go after your dreams. Then I've chosen the Four of Swords, and I particularly like this illustration a lot because it kind of reminds me of those times when you were a kid and like your friend comes over and he wants you to go outside and play, and your mom's like, no, you can't go outside and play, you have to do your homework, or you need to have time out or eat dinner or something like that. But like in the present time, like as adults, there's no one really telling us to do that, but sometimes we need to take those times to rest and reflect. And like our friends are like, hey, do you want to go out tonight? We know we can't because there's some things we need to stop and take time to consider, and I feel like that really embraces the energy of this card. Then I've chosen the Nine of Cups, which this is very much like the genie that we saw in the Deviant Moon Tarot, and that's why I love having different decks, is because the different illustrations show us different aspects of the cards that we might not have seen otherwise, that really can spark our intuition. Now, unlike the Deviant Moon with the magic genie and the guy sitting on the beach looking completely shocked that the magic genie is coming out, our crow here knows what he's done and knows what he can achieve. All these cups hold all the things that he's actually achieved already in his life, so he has that confidence to go after something new in the present, to manifest those wishes and desires, and really knows that he has the control and the ability to do so. Then I've chosen Death again. It's kind of shows, like, so far I've only done 2 decks, but like my personal favorite cards of the tarot. Like Death is definitely one of them because it shows leaving something behind so you can begin something new, being reborn, and I feel this card definitely speaks of that rebirth energy. You know, what's done is done, what's dead is dead, and the fresh new opportunities await as that crow rises from the ashes. Then I've chosen the Five of Pentacles. I said, love this illustration of the Five of Pentacles. Most of the time we see like the character walking really sad past a church, and you have those church windows that he could look up and seek help. And this kind of embraces that energy as well, because this tree is full of crows and pentacles. And the two characters down on the bottom, you know, they might feel down on their luck. They might not have those pentacles, but if they were just to look up, those crows in that tree and those pentacles could be theirs as well, and they could help each other. Okay, those are the 5 cards I shared there. And again, I will share the link in the description below where you can purchase this deck as well. It should be available on Amazon and anywhere tarot decks are sold. There we go. And they just fold right back in there really nicely. It's a really nice box that keeps the deck safe. You can see Crow Tarot right there. We'll move on to the next one, which is the Mystical Medleys Tarot. You can see it right there. It's by Gary Hall, and it's just a fun, whimsical deck that reminds you of like the 50s cartoons. Now the box itself is really cool. I love this box because you can see down here there's the devil and the whole devil card. You know, like my OCD makes me have to put this deck back in the way it goes all the time because it doesn't feel right if it's not like the picture. I'll set that aside, and you can see here are the cards, and it's a really nice box. Like I said, the cards are fantastic quality. All the cards in this deck are absolutely gorgeous. And you have this nice little book here, and it's nice and hard covered. Fits in the box perfectly, and you've got the different cards and their little meanings and the illustrations and stuff, and it's colored. So it's an awesome little white book. Put them in there. Yeah, it did. Okay. So these are the 5 cards I like the most in this deck. And of course, Temperance. Temperance is astrologically connected to Sagittarius, so it's definitely one of my favorite cards because I am a Sagittarius. Sagittarius Sun, Sagittarius Mercury, Venus, Saturn, Uranus, and of course the Sun. I think there might be one more, but it's not coming to my head right now. But definitely said Temperance is an awesome card, and this kind of shows like just the joy that this card has. You know, taking the old and applying it to the new. This card does follow death in the sequence, so it's like what's dead is dead, but that memory is still within you, and you can use that information to make the best of life moving forward. And I have the Four of Wands because this kind of embraces the energy of the Four of Wands. It shows the celebration, the everybody being there for you, and like weddings, graduations. That's what the Four of Wands is all about. Celebrating the strong foundation that you're passionate about. And the color of the yellow in the back kind of shows like the creative energy of this card and really being able to create that strong foundation that you're passionate about. So I feel that really embraces the energy of the Four of Wands. And then I've chosen the Eight of Cups. And I love this illustration of the Eight of Cups because it kind of shows the sun and the moon fighting. And it's a lot of times, and this is really close to the illustrations we see of the Eight of Cups, there's a single moon hanging in the sky and the character's just walking away on his own, leaving all these cups nicely stacked behind him. And that kind of suggests this energy of not telling anybody that we're going to leave, leaving in the darkness of night so nobody can stop us. And the moon relates to our emotions, so it's just we're emotionally exhausted of this time and we're ready to leave those emotions behind. So this kind of shows the internal struggle that this character might be having as he leaves behind what he knows and moves on to something else. And I feel like that's a really cool illustration of the Eight of Cups because it shows an aspect we might not have had. In the waking days, like he's got this like fight about him and he wants to go. But at night, like his emotions get the best of him and he's like, I just can't do this anymore. And I feel like that's a really great meaning of the Eight of Cups. Next up, I have the Four of Pentacles. And I really like this illustration because this is the card of like holding on to your money. Again, like the Four of Wands, it shows a strong foundation. And the four, like a lot of times, like you see like this strong, confident person clutching his pentacles. And this one's kind of clutching his pentacles too. But he's not as balanced as he could be because those pentacles underneath him kind of makes him shaky. So if our only focus is on the money and only holding on to the money, then we're not like experience life as much as we should. And I feel like that really, this card really embraces it. Like, that's all I care about. That's like, it's shocking me just how much I care about this, and I don't feel comfortable. But definitely really interesting illustration of this card, and this deck is so cool. I love this deck. I love just the illustrations of it. And then I've chosen the Five of Wands, and I like this illustration because there's nobody else in it but the spider we see right here. And so the inner turmoil is what's causing the conflict. And a lot of times in our lives, yes, there's immaturity on others. There's people that are going to laugh at us. There's people that's going to watch this video and say it's not good. I've had that happen. I think one of my videos was a little bit out of focus and someone told me about that. But I took that to heart, and I really, like, it bothered me a lot. And so I feel like this illustration definitely relates to that. Just the internal struggle, like, other people's opinions of us and other people's passions might conflict with our own, but at the end of the day, it's our own minds that are working against us that make us doubt our passions. So I feel like this card really embraces that energy. And like the other cards, all of these again are available, and I'll leave the link down in the description below where you can purchase this deck for yourself. Up next, I have the Zombie Tarot, which is such a fun deck. I have this deck, actually, I had it for the longest time as an app on my phone, which that's a really cool way that you can check out decks and, like, get to know the cards and see if you like them or not, because you can spend like $4, I think it is, $3.99 plus tax, to get these decks for your phones, and you can see the different cards and the illustrations and stuff. And this box is really cool. It's a really nice box setup, and you can see a little book right here. You can see the different illustrations. I actually used this book recently, so I had a little bookmark in there. But definitely gives you a little information about it, and it's got cool little pictures and stuff in it. And here's the cards themselves, which just easily pop out of the deck like that, and it's nice and soft covered and stuff inside. And here's the 5 cards that I prefer the most, or like the most in this deck. See, I have them reversed there. This is one of those decks that you can easily see what's upright and reversed, because the little genie head, the zombie genie head, is upside down. We have the 5 of Cups first, and I really like this illustration because the 5 of Cups is the card I like to call the crying over spilled milk card. Much like the death card that I showed you with you in the beginning, with like the 2 horses with skeleton heads in the Deviant Moon Tarot, where the one child wanted to go back inside the mother's womb when he couldn't. That kind of represents, I feel like, the 5 of Cups as well, like holding on to the past, longing for the past, and missing the past when you can't get it back. And that this illustration definitely seems to suggest that. So you have the mother and the child there longing for the ones that have gone and not able to move forward because they're still holding on to the past. Then I've chosen the King of Cups because this is my absolutely favorite illustration of the King of Cups. It's so fun, it's so funny, it's so beautifully done. And it kind of shows just how much control his emotions have over him, and he's really leading with his heart. But his eyes are still above the water, which makes him see the way forward. He's not just stuck in his emotions. He's got control of his mind and his sight, and he's able to move forward and lead in life with his heart. Then I've chosen the 2 of Cups because I really like this illustration of the 2 of Cups. It's the card that people love to see. It's like the Lover's card, you know, when you find that emotionally fulfilling partnership that just makes life more enjoyable. This illustration doesn't actually show any people per se, but you can see the zombie here eating his brains and the human over here eating his food. And it shows even if we have our differences, we're still able to break bread with one another and enjoy one another's company. So it's embracing our differences and finding those ones that accept us just the way we are, and, you know, emotionally fulfilling relationships and partnerships. Then I've chosen the 7 of Swords as the final card to share with you, I think. No, next to the last card to share with you, because I do 5 each. So the 7 of Swords, I really like this illustration because it's like taking control. 7 of Swords is like the thief card of the tarot, but here we don't really have that illustration. We have more of taking control of one's life and taking control of one's mind and pushing what doesn't fit with us down the stairs. If you look really closely, you can see that that person is still very much alive, and she is using that guy to fend off the zombies, you know. I don't know the right word here, but like taking advantage of someone else, throwing them under the bus so you don't have to take the blame for yourself. And that kind of screams in this illustration, but this is the 7 of the suit of the mind, so it relates to taking control of our minds and not letting them work against us, stealing back our truths, and, you know, don't throw somebody else under the bus and take advantage of them to stay out of trouble. Take control of your own mind, stand up to your own, like, fess up to your problems or your wrongdoings. But I think this illustration is so fun, and the deck itself, like the illustrations, they're so cool. And of course the moon, the card of dreams and the subconscious, and you can see the crow right there, so that's definitely why I love this illustration so much. But this one screams like the other side will talk to you when you're asleep. Your dreams have power, because there's the key coming down as she sleeps, so your dreams are the keys to your success. So that's just a few cards that I love from this deck. And again, I will leave the link in the description below where you can purchase it for yourself. Nice little box to come in. It's a little bit bigger than other decks, which is why it's further up on my list, because that's the way they stacked. You close it like that, you can see the different sides of it. We'll move on to the next one, which is the Wild Unknown Tarot Deck and Guidebook, written and illustrated by Kim Krenz, or is it Kim Krenz? I'm not sure. I'm not great with speaking a lot, so that might be why. And you can see there that little slip comes off. You have a nice little box right here that has a magnetic lid, and it opens up very beautifully like that. And you have the little flip here that helps you get the guidebook out. In the box itself, there is no polite way to do this. Let's just do this. There we go. And the box itself is a nice little box. If you wanted to carry it around, you could just leave this guy at home and take the deck with you. We'll look at the little guidebook first before I get into the cards. You can see it's very nicely done. It's a nice thick book. It's not hardcover, but it's a thick cover, and it kind of matches the back of the cards there, and you can see the different cards and the different meanings that she wanted you to know about them. And it's an awesome deck, and I will admit, it did not call to me beginningly. Like, I was put off by this deck. I didn't like the illustrations of it. I thought it was just like dark, and when it comes to like beginners, this is not a deck I would recommend. But some people love this deck. It has such a following, and some people, like, this is their first deck and they absolutely love it. These are the 5 cards that I like the most from it. Like, they're the ones that have more color in them, I think, because this deck is a little bit darker. We have the 8 of Swords first, and 8 of Swords was my or 8 of Pentacles, not 8 of Swords. We won't talk about my personal stalker card because that isn't it. Which shows the spider hard at work creating its web, and I think that's a perfect illustration of the 8 of Pentacles, because spiders are known for creating these intricate webs, and practice makes perfect is always the thought that comes to my mind when it comes to the 8 of Pentacles. Working hard to achieve our goals, focusing on those goals to perfect them, and I feel like this card really embraces that energy. And I've chosen the Ace of Swords, and this one speaks to that collar I was talking about. And I love the snake skin that goes around this. We don't actually see the snake's head, but it shows that power of that intelligence and knowledge we have in ourselves to begin something new. So this is definitely a gorgeous illustration of the Ace of Swords, and I really like it. And we have the Hierophant. Of course, there's the crow and the key, so you know me, crows and keys. I like them both, so definitely awesome illustration of the Hierophant. Kind of shows the power that the crows and the ravens and stuff really have. That wise intelligence that we possess ourselves when we just take the time to learn about ourselves and, you know, follow our own paths. And I've chosen the 8 of Wands, because I really love this illustration, because it's like the ideas from the universe coming down and really creating action in our lives. And that's the card of things moving, passions making our lives move more quickly or feel like they're moving more quickly, and I feel like that card kind of embraces that. Then I've chosen the 6 of Cups as well, because I really like this illustration of the 6 of Cups, because it shows where we've come from, and it's got all those colorful roots down below. So since 6 is like the number of self-reflection, and this is the card of like the suit of emotional happiness, then it kind of shows that even though we've talked a lot about like death and leaving stuff behind and the pain of the past behind and moving forward, you know, there's things that we can learn from that, like emotions, negative, positive, it doesn't matter. Those lessons, there's lessons to be learned from those emotions, and this kind of shows how deep our emotions run and how deep our past runs within us. It's always with us as we grow into something more. Okay, and that's the 5 cards. I had to sit there and count. Yeah, that's the 5 cards I wanted to show you from there. You can see the backs there. It's a great deck. Again, slightly flimsy, but it's cards. What do we expect? And the different illustrations there. It's an awesome deck if it calls to you. Again, I'll put the link in the description below where you can purchase it for yourself if that's what you are called to. It's one of the most popular decks out there. You can find it pretty much anywhere. The box there, I think that's the Wheel of Fortune. It's an awesome deck. Like I said, though, it didn't call to me immediately, but the more I work with the tarot, the more this deck just started screaming, hey, you need this deck too. Up next, I have the Starman Tarot, created by David DeAngelis, and it says inspired by the artwork he created for David Bowie. So if you are a fan of David Bowie, that is the character we see right here, then this is the deck for you. I will admit I was not a fan of David Bowie when I saw this deck, and I still fell in love with it. I think it's absolutely incredible. It has an awesome like box to come in. Again, kind of bigger, so it's down lower and thing. I have the biggest one saved for last because it's the one on the bottom of the deck, or the bottom of the stack. And you can see here is the guidebook, very well done. It shares like the information about the cards and how he created them and everything. I love this man's work. It's absolutely gorgeous, and I'll share the 5 cards with you that I love the most out of this deck. Gotta make more room because this takes up a lot of room. First, I have the Starman himself, David Bowie. You can see there he is the creator, the manifester of his dreams. It doesn't even say magician as the magician card, but there you can see it says Starman, and he definitely was the Starman. I think he even wrote a song called Starman. I don't remember at the top of my head. I will say that when I got this deck, like when I first got it, I listened to nothing but David Bowie for weeks because I'm like, that's the only way I'm going to connect with this deck is to get to know him. So I do know all the songs now. I do really love his music. It's not like my personal favorite. My personal favorite band is Nickelback, in case you were curious. I don't have a Nickelback deck. If that exists, then I would buy it instantly. But that's just, it's such a colorful, beautiful illustration of the magician, and it shows the real power we have to manifest our dreams. Then I've chosen the Ace of Pentacles because this kind of shows like bringing our ideas into reality and staying grounded while we do so we can achieve those monetary goals. Then the 8 of Pentacles, because I love this illustration of it, and it shows, like I showed you with the previous deck, with the wild unknown and being able, like the spider creating her web so she can achieve her goals. Here we have the character like manifesting his ideas and bringing his goals into reality by perfecting his little craft here. And again, extremely colorful illustration. It looks a lot like the Starman that we began with, but in order to manifest those magician ideas and really find success with them, then we have to be able to work hard for it, put forth the effort, and perfect our ideas. Then I've chosen the 4 of Cups to share. Interesting, it's the 4th card I'm sharing, and it's also the 4 of Cups. And it kind of shows all this stuff that we miss when we're only focused on being bored. And I love that this illustration because of that. Because to me, the 4 of Cups is the card of feeling bored. And I always like to say, like, it's the strong foundation of the suit of emotional happiness and fulfillment, because it's a 4. And in order to feel bored, we have to feel safe, we have to feel comfortable, and we have to like have that strong foundation where we can sit there and say, I'm bored. But if you're sitting there just thinking, oh, there's nothing to do, I'm so bored, out of my mind, look around, find something to do. There is so much to experience in life. Bored should be the last thing in your mind. And I feel like this illustration really shows that. Like, there's connecting with a higher power, there's using your own hands to create something you're passionate about. There's a little witch hat right there, so it's like creating magic in your life and embracing your inner witch. There's just so much to see and so much to do when you focus on what there is to do and not focusing on when you're bored. And I've chosen the 7 of Swords because I feel like this one really shows the true meaning of the 7 of Swords, the thief card, and it's like this character seems to be busting into like a storefront, which the illustration again, so colorful, so vivid, so imaginative, and so beautiful. I love it. But no one's around, he's taking what he wants, and it kind of shows that whole thief thing of like paying attention to your things, don't let people take advantage of you and stuff like that. But like I said with the other one, I don't remember which deck that was at this time, but I said like it was a lot of times it's the mind that is working against us that is causing us to like not feel in control, and our own thoughts stealing our power. So this kind of doesn't really represent that, more so than like the external strong thieves out there. But still, like, you can take that as like taking control of your mind and not taking advantage of others or not letting others take advantage of you. So that's the cards themselves, and the backs are really cool. I've read this is actually like the DNA sequence, so that's a really cool aspect, and definitely awesome cards there. I see the different illustrations right there. Now they're really a little bit too big, definitely to shuffle with your hands unless you've got really long fingers. So see, I had to stretch it really far to get it out there. But you know how I shuffle, so that's one way you can do it and they don't bend. It's an awesome deck. It's probably the most colorful one I have in my collection. I absolutely love it. And again, you should be able to purchase this anywhere decks can be sold. Amazon, Walmart, Barnes & Noble, Books A Million, you name it, you should be able to find this deck. Up next, I have the Edgar Allan Poe Tarot, created by Rose White and illustrated by Eugene Smith. And it has this nice, awesome, giant box to share it in. It opens just like that. It has a little flip on it. You can see the box there, or the guidebook there. And of course, you know, this is one of my favorite cards right there on the illustration. I believe this is the Magician. And it shows the crow, or the raven, because that's the main, like, the book or story we all know from Edgar Allan Poe. So if you're a fan of Poe's work, I highly recommend this deck. The cards and the illustrations go based on his actual work. So if you know his stories, these cards will immediately like spark your intuition, like, oh yeah, I know this, and I know this, and I know this. But if you don't, then this guidebook is incredible. Totally like recommend this. It'll tell you about the story, it'll tell you the different meanings of it. It's really awesome. And here's the backs of the cards. You can see a raven on either side holding their eyeballs. And I'll share the 5 cards with you that I prefer the most out of this deck. Up first, I have the Emperor, and I chose this card because it's Edgar Allan Poe himself doing what he does best in writing. Now, when it comes to being the Emperor, like, that's the 4. You can see there with the Roman numerals of 4. Shows the strong foundation. And to really have that external strong foundation, we have to find what we're most passionate about, what we're good at, and focus on growing it into something more. And that's what this card really speaks to me about, is having that control. Like, his strong foundation was his writing. So if we find our own strong foundations and what we're good at, then finding that internally will help us create the strong foundations externally. And if you're a fan of like having cards that have the astrological correspondences, this card in particular definitely does, because you have the ram heads there. And the rams are astrological, or rams represent Aries, who is the astrological correspondence to this Emperor. Next, I have the 9 of Wands illustration, and it kind of shows like that whole aspect I have, like, that I really want to focus on. A lot of times, we feel like it's other people that are causing our problems and conflicts, but we internalize those feelings, and it's kind of like the character clearly is alone, but this demon is above him. And I don't have to, like, I'm not opening the book right now to find out, but this is definitely one of the stories of, like, Edgar Allan Poe wrote and has written. And it shows that, like, that whole need to defend ourselves and need to defend those passions because our inner demons are telling us we can't do something. And then I've chosen the Magician. And like I said, like, I love this illustration because it shows the raven. And seriously, ravens, crows, corvids in general, they're my absolute favorite. You know that, obviously. And so the Magician here, like, shows that manifesting power, taking control, and really, you know, manifesting our dreams and desires. And here's the 7 of Pentacles. Now, I've chosen this particular illustration because this is one of my favorite stories. I hope I do this justice. I'm not going to open the guidebook. It's in there. It can totally tell you about it. But he's a murderer of all his wives. Every time he finds a wife, he kills her the next day. So this woman has become a genius, and she knows exactly what to do to keep her life safe and keep her friends' lives safe, like the women that he has killed, like that he plans on killing. She's going to remain married to him, so he can't, by weaving stories that keep him interesting, cliffhangers that he cannot kill her because he always wants to know what's next. So that kind of, like, not necessarily the general meaning that we all know and love about the 7 of Pentacles, but it's using our own wits to keep it going and not losing sight of our goals and not giving up, because we still have pieces to the story that we need to share. Okay, that's 4. So the 5th one I want to share is the Queen of Pentacles. And I love this illustration of it because it shows like an older woman in a play, like in a theater, and she's worked her own magic and worked her own power to create the success that she's found. And I think this really embraces that energy. It shows like she's been a famous actress, she's made money all on her own, and it kind of shows what we can do when we feel confident in our own selves. It doesn't matter how old you are or how young you are. If you're focused on what you want to achieve and you feel like you're worthy of it and can see yourself succeeding at it, then you truly can. We showed the backs of the cards there. You can see they're very interesting. Slightly flimsy deck, but again, if you're careful with it, you shuffle it nicely and gently, do like I do, 1 2 3 1 2 3, then it'll be fine. It comes with an awesome book, an awesome guidebook, an awesome box, and it's definitely an awesome deck. So it definitely goes on my list of top 10 favorite mass market decks. I'm really curious if they'll make a hashtag that about 10 indie decks. I don't know if I have exactly 10 of them, but that would be cool to see. We'll move on to the next deck I have, which is the Tarot in Wonderland by Barbara Moore and Eugene Smith. Now remember, Eugene Smith's name was also on the Edgar Allan Poe tarot that I just shared. So he's an extremely talented artist. And this book also opens very much like the Edgar Allan Poe tarot, and also has a guidebook that is absolutely incredible. Now, this is my favorite guidebook that comes with the deck. I say what comes with the deck because I've shared the Deviant Moon guidebook with you, the big hardcover one, and nothing compares to it, but this one actually comes with the deck, comes in the box, and it's incredible. There's the backs of the cards. You can see the book here, and this is hands down my favorite book that comes with a deck. You see there, it's so detailed. It shares little excerpts from the stories of Alice in Wonderland, and it's just an awesome deck all around. And here's the 5 cards that I prefer the most in this deck, and I really love. And this Emperor right here, I don't know, I just love the fun of it and the different birds and stuff, and him like sharing his wealth with the ones around him. Then I have the 4 of Cups again, and he just looks so sad. Like, I love this illustration because it's getting caught up in your own stuff, caught up in your own emotions, and not able to see what's still going on. Dolphin over here is like, hey, look at me, I can balance this cup on my nose, you know, I'm talented, I can focus on what I'm emotionally happy about. And our character over here, the sad turtle, definitely just seems lost in his own stuff, you focusing on that energy of being bored. We have the Queen of Pentacles here, and I really love this illustration and the little message that it shares in the guidebook about it, because this is the queen that has everything that you could possibly need in her purse. And that kind of shows the energy of the Queen of Pentacles. Like, you found success yourself and you found success all on your own, but you're able to use that success to help others, like, achieve their own. So that's definitely one of my favorite illustrations of this Queen of Pentacles. And I have the 6 of Pentacles, the Sharing is Caring card. We saw this card with the Deviant Moon earlier that showed like only sharing a little bit of what you have. And this one kind of shows what really should be happening with the 6 of Pentacles and sharing, because sharing is caring should be somewhat equal, I feel. And this kind of shows that, like, all these characters, the Hare, the Mad Hatter, and Alice, they're like sharing what they have, sharing their food with others, and like being nice to other people and showing that they care. And then I've shared the 5 of Cups as well, and it shows that energy of only focusing on what's been lost. And we saw this card with the Zombie Tarot as well, like sitting in the graveyard and focusing on what's been lost. And we can see here Alice only wants these cups up here, even though she has 2 filled cups down here. So that kind of embodies that whole energy of the 5 of Cups, crying over spilled milk, not able to see the way forward because you're so focused on what's been lost. So awesome deck. I've had this one for quite a while now. So the cards, there's slight damage on the cards right there, you can see that, but it does not take away from the cards themselves. They are absolutely gorgeous. And again, this guidebook is so thick, so full. Like, it's, if you can't read tarot and you're wanting a deck, that bumped something. If you can't read tarot and you're wanting to start and you like Alice in Wonderland, I highly recommend this deck. I think it is one of the best guidebooks out there, and it definitely shows you like the different illustrations, and it's very close to the Rider-Waite. Like, it's kind of like based roughly on that, so it's an awesome deck. Up next, I have the Everyday Witch Tarot by Deborah Blake and the art by Elizabeth Alba. And it's just like those decks that I just shared of like the last 2 or 3, I think, the Edgar Allan Poe and the Alice in Wonderland deck, Tarot in Wonderland it's called, where it has an awesome guidebook. The box is a really nice box. It takes up a lot of room, which is why it was on the bottom of my little tower there. And you can see there, it's very, very detailed. It even has places where you can write your own notes about the decks, which I'm not going to do because I don't want to ruin the book with my own stuff. But it's definitely a good deck to read with. Like the Alice in Wonderland I shared, you can see there, you can clearly tell what is upright and reversed because the cat would be upside down otherwise. But it's still an awesome deck, one that I really, really love. And so when I saw it, I was like, this one's definitely calling to me, I have to have it. And it's available on any of those places as well if you want to add it to your own collection. First card I'd like to share, did I do this one differently? No, I didn't, okay. It just happens to be reversed. The first one I'm going to share is the 7 of Cups, because I love this illustration of it. And what I really like about this deck, and I had to put it away for like 6 months there, because I didn't want to look at it, because every single one of these cards pictures their familiar and their cat. Now, I lost my Luna last February, and it was one of the hardest things I've ever had to deal with. I mean, I felt like I shouldn't even continue tarot anymore because I started it with her, like she was always there. But the show must go on. She wouldn't have wanted me to quit, I don't think. So I kept going. I just put this deck aside for a while. But you can see here, you have all those emotionally fulfilling choices that she has to choose from. You have to think everything through. before you can make those choices, because, you know, some might be too good to be true, while others might be the right thing for you. Then there's Temperance, and I've shared Temperance with the Mystical Medleys Tarot too, but this particular illustration of Temperance is the reason I wanted this deck so much. I myself am a witch. I like to think that I'm a witch. I've been a witch my entire life. Like, I've been obsessed with that kind of stuff my whole life. I love it. And when I do yoga, this is my personal favorite pose. The tree pose. I love standing in this pose. I can stand in this pose for so long. It's just so relaxing and so comfortable, and this card just definitely reminds me of me. So that's why I love it so much. And there's the Eight of Swords, and I've touched on this with the Eight of Pentacles by accident a little bit ago, which this was my stalker card when I first started. The prisoner of your own mind, trapped by the thoughts in your mind and not thinking that you can move forward. And this illustration of it definitely, that reminds me of me again, just sitting there like on my hands and knees, like wishing that I could move forward and feeling stagnant, not able to do anything or stuff like that. And I feel like that really shows it. But the beauty of the Eight of Swords, and you can see it there, like the ropes on her arms aren't holding her too tightly. She could easily remove them, then remove the blindfold, and those swords in front of her, she could grab the handles and she could pull them up, or she could just walk between them, grab her broom and her hat and move forward. And that's the real meaning of the Eight of Swords. Like, there is that success and wealth connected to it because it is the eight of the suit of the mind, but you have to get that control of the mind before you can move forward. Then I've got the Three of Swords, and I've done this a certain way because I really like how they did this. The Three of Swords here shows like her diary there, and like she spilled her ink and stuff because she's so sad. Like, she doesn't even want to look at this stuff anymore, and she's just walked away from the pain because this is the card of heartbreak and betrayal. But with the Four that follows that, you can see it's the same exact bed, it's the same exact room, but she's reflecting on where she's been. She's taking the time to rest and reflect and not let the pain of her past hold her back. So that's kind of the beauty of the 3 and 4 of Swords. You know, the whole 3 of Swords, I like to use the quote from Bring Me the Horizons mantra of before the truth will set you free, it'll piss you off. And before you find your place to be, you've got to lose the plot. So she's lost, she's been upset, like her heart's been broken, and the truth has actually set her free. She's walked away, but she's come back because she knows that she needs to take the time and rest and reflect before she can move forward and know what she wants to do. And last, but certainly not least, the Shadowland Tarot by Monica Bodinsky, or Bodorgsky. Seriously, I'm not even going to try. You can see the name right there. You can see it's an awesome deck, and that's the reason it's last, not because it's my least favorite. It's definitely not. I love the illustration of the deck. It's just this is the biggest box I have, so it definitely had to go on the bottom. It opens very similar to the decks that I've shared recently. You see the little box there. Has an awesome guidebook. Like, this is one of the best. It's up there with the Tarot in Wonderland. You can see very, very, very detailed there. Awesome, awesome deck. It has different messages here. Like, has different aspects of the cards. It's just an all-around fantastic deck. I love it. The cards are beautiful. You can see there they all have like gold foil. They're awesome. Set the box aside and I'll show you a few cards in here that I prefer, or I like the most. It's this one. First up, I have Justice, and this is my favorite illustration of Justice because this poor tree, you can tell it's been taken advantage of. They've cut off part of it. You know, it hasn't, no one's been fair to it, but it continues and it still goes because it's still being fair to itself. It's still very much alive. You can see it's got leaves over here, and it has this like owl sitting on the top that's making its home in it. So as long as you're fair to yourself, and even if someone has taken advantage of you in the past, doesn't mean you can't have fairness and justice in your life moving forward. And I feel like this Justice definitely shows that. Then I've chosen the Seven of Cups. I really like the illustrations, the different illustrations of Seven of Cups, because it kind of shows the different things that can, you know, light our inner fires that make us really love life and really enjoy. And like, she looks almost sad down here, like I have all this in front of me and I don't know what to do with it. But it shows all the opportunities that are available. When we feel emotionally fulfilled, we can focus on what else will fill our cups up. Then I have the Two of Cups, because this reminds me, I don't know if it was a TV show or a book when I was a kid, but it was called the Snorks, I think. And they lived underwater and they looked a lot like this. And that's why I've chosen this card, because I really like that. that illustration of it. And it's finding that other weirdo that just loves you for you, and kind of goes back to that illustration of the Two of Cups I shared with the zombie tarot a little bit earlier. And like, it doesn't matter if you're different, if your hearts connect, like that's the person that you should be with. Or if like you want to start a business with somebody that has like different ideas for the same goals, like that's what life is all about, like finding those people that we connect with. So I really like that illustration because it shows like that connection. Then I have the Five of Pentacles to share as well. Now that's 4 of them, so I have one more to share with you. And I like this illustration because clearly Bigfoot wants to join these people. He wants to be part of their group, but he's too scared to walk over there. So it's less about that whole not being able to look up and see the people that are there to help you, but more fearing that help and not being able to walk over there, which I think is an interesting aspect of this Five of Pentacles we may not see in other decks. And then last, but certainly not least, is our Crow or Raven friend from the Three of Swords. Now, we have that whole, I mentioned it with the Everyday Witch Tarot a minute ago, that before the truth will set you free, it'll piss you off. Before you find your place to be, you gotta lose the plot. Our Crow has found his place to be. He stitched his heart back together. He's wearing it on his chest. He's not going to get hurt like that again because he's learned from it, and he's going to create a better future for himself. So you can't really see his eyes there, so he might have this, still have this pain holding on to him, but he's not afraid to go after something new and try something new. So that's definitely an awesome illustration of the Three of Swords and why I really love this deck. Like, it's an awesome deck. If you want to see all the cards in this deck, then you can watch one of my very first YouTube videos, because I did a whole unboxing video of this deck. It was the first unboxing video I did, and it was really fun. But definitely awesome guidebook you can see there. If you're just beginning and you're looking for a deck, then this is definitely one that I would recommend. I think it's awesome. They kind of do go with the Rider-Waite a little bit, but they're just fun and just shadowy, like dark a little bit. And we all just have this darkness inside a lot that we need to, you know, embrace so we can make the best of our lives. So that was a look of my top 10 favorite mass market decks, and I'll leave you with a look at all of my decks. Slightly messy. I've had to stack everything up because I'm running out of room. You can see them all right there. It looks like it's a little grainy. I apologize for that. But I do have a lot of decks. Those are my personal favorites. Got all my little Deviant Moons over here with my Eddie Plushy Crow. So I really hope that you enjoyed this video. I hope it wasn't too out of focus and that you actually saw some things that you liked. I really want to thank you a lot for watching. Any of these decks that you see in my collection are definitely available to receive a reading with. If anyone caught you, then feel free to send me a message on any of my socials, comment on this video, or book one directly on my site. All of those links will be down in the description below if you're looking. Thank you again, and I'll see you again soon.